Hello, and welcome to Session 8 of Horizon Marmoris. We've all had a month-long spring break in-game and out-of-game, but we're back at it. I'm toast, my ankle's hurt because I went for a run, and we've only got, as you might notice, 2 players today. Shizm decided to drop out of the game to focus on other things, so Kessin has gone off to pursue other interests during the month in-game time skip, and Emmerich is sick, so Dalian will also be indisposed. As mentioned, we've had a month in-game for our characters to pursue their various aspirations, obsessions, other goals that don't have capitalized letters, so we'll start with Scout. What was Pascal doing?
So following Pascal's release of Paradox, he's kind of had this the experimental condition on the back burner for like a month, subtly impacting what he's been doing, but much more focused on like kind of just pushing the limits of like the Arcana and understanding. Probably he's used Spirit Sight a few times over that month and been trying to incorporate this new Arcanum into his repertoire. Just kind of basically, as well as, trying to actually help using his experience train the ship to be an actual pirate ship. Compared
Very
to,
cool.
yeah, just a bunch of sailors.
Very true. And you had some Space Mojo helping to integrate the crew, or the company, as we're presently calling it, into the crew. We'll say that, that's largely been successful when we get to the overall summary. And what has Hull been up to?
So Hull's kind of magical identity has been focusing inward, has been experimenting with a bit of astral travel, made a little domain, a kind of temporary little domain in the hold, and has been kind of, figuring out how to travel inward and sort of considering themselves very solipsistically almost. And John, in his kind of mundane role, has been kind of working on relationships that are important to him, and with kind of floating around Captain Balthazar, and kind of figuring out the new, not quite kind of inferior relationship with Arnu, his kind of shipwright teacher and master.
Okay, cool. So yeah, as far as what the crew as a whole has been up to this past month, the mages have integrated themselves into sort of friendship, camaraderie, esprit de corps, whatever you want to call it, with the pirates very rapidly due to sort of this upwelling of this sort of profligate extension of connections that's been facilitated by Pascal's magic, sort of chaining you all within the crew metaphysically at a very quick clip. It hasn't been a replacement for sort of knowledge or actual time spent together, but it has given a sort of, weight of familiarity to all of your interactions with the crew members. After that first very successful raid on St. Hilary, I think it was St. Hilary. Yeah, St. Hilary. The crew was emboldened by the supplies that they plundered from a settlement which was, well stocked to, or, be able to survive on its supplies for a long time before becoming self-sufficient. The English presence on the island was significantly reduced, and then you all set off for your next adventure. And those adventures largely involved somewhat anticlimactic deeds of piracy. as you found yourselves chasing down ships, attempting to plunder cargo. You found that most of the time the merchant vessels, lightly guarded, that you were targeting would often give up without a fight. You'd swoop in with your flag unfurled, and often you would just get what you want and send the ship on their way, possibly with a few new volunteers eager to join in your purportedly free lifestyle. But sometimes there was blood that needed to be drawn, especially if your operations were intercepted by a military vessel. Today, we find ourselves off the... Let me fit the scene. Today, we find ourselves bearing down on a merchant frigate, or not frigate, but a merchant ship off the western coast of the Great Bahama Bank, in the Florida Strait, a very profitable and active trading route. And the flag has just been unfurled. The ship is within minutes of being boarded. Each of you has 2 actions that you can sort of retroactively say that you have taken to either prepare for what you view as the inevitable conflict to come, or perhaps to attempt to forestall any sort of armed conflict. Let's start with Scout.
Well, first, I actually I need to do the roll to see how much mana I currently have.
That's right.
From the time skip.
1d10 plus 3. Nice. 9. All pumped up.
9.
Also,
okay.
did either of you buy anything? XP-wise?
Nope.
Okay. Cool.
What is... yeah.
There we go.
So, retroactive actions.
Yep, either
we're-
spells cast on yourself, spells cast on your crewmates, perhaps spells you've prepared to cast on the ship or the people above it as soon as they come into range.
I was about to say, like, only spells, and then I remembered I have a hubris condition right now, so yeah, Pascal would probably be thinking spells first.
Yeah, or mundane actions, of course. Not everything's a superpower.
Yeah, so... So are we actually, like, flying, like, pirate flags now, trying to
The
play
Jolly
off
Roger, the Jolly
pirate
Roger has been unfurled.
Could I...
If you wanted to have done something before that point, that's perfectly in keeping.
Could I cast a spirit coaxing to kind of, like, enhance that resonance off of the ship? I kind of want to help, I want to play off of the pirates' fear, because obviously, it's much easier for everyone involved if the enemy crew doesn't want to fight us and just wants to surrender. So maybe some sort of, would that work, like a spirit coaxing to enhance the resonance that the ship's giving off?
Okay, yeah. That's something that a spirit compelling spell could probably do to sort of, I don't know, make the change in resonance more dramatic, perhaps. Gotta think of how I'll actually model that mechanically, but go ahead and I'll just say you did it. I was going to say,
do you want like a full spell roll or a quick spell roll or whatever? Okay.
Like, unless you want to try to fish for exceptional, then I don't care. I'll just say the spell goes off. Second action.
Probably try to make like a plan with the crew and help organize them for the boarding action if it comes to that.
Okay. Give me resolve plus composure. What are we thinking for dice penalty? Like, you're going for a +2 or something?
Okay. Yeah, +2, sure.
Alright, resolve plus composure -2.
Alright, and I will spend a willpower for this. Ooh, no successes.
So I'll say that you do succeed. You have a +2 plan, but you have, or so rather, I will offer you success at a cost. You
Okay.
can get off this action, but your plan is somewhat overly involved. The people following the plan will get a dice bonus, but as soon as anything deviates from the plan, an unforeseen circumstance appears, it will be that much more confusing for those attempting to follow it.
I'll
Is
take
that
it.
all right? Sounds good. And Scrig, or yeah, Scrig, what has John/Hall done?
I was kind of going to say a plan as well. Would it be redundant to sort of say that Hull had kind of gotten together with the captain and maybe a couple of others just to like put a plan in place for if shit goes wrong?
Sure. How about we model it as sort of contingency that increases their morale. They will feel better as a result of having this backup plan, and so if shit does go wrong, they will operate under a beneficial condition.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
That's that composure resolve?
It would be. I'm not going to make you roll for it because there isn't a dice bonus associated.
Okay,
So,
cool.
second action.
Second, I'm trying to think of anything magical that I might also do, but could I kind of hold this in reserve to sort of
Sure. Yeah, we can let you do a flashback. All right, cool. So, grappling hooks out, planks down. The boarding party has, drawn their weapons, is leering and shouting and menacing the, presumably soft crew of this merchant ship as they approach, hoping to intimidate them into giving up easily. But both of you suddenly feel your peripheral mage sight pick up on something. For Hull feels it as a mind effect.
Ooh.
And before you can sort of do anything as a result of this information, the first boots are on the planks, and gunfire has been returned from the ship that you're boarding, indicating to both of you that they anticipate defending the ship. What do you do?
I'm going to bring up. I'm going to cast the prime spell that I have as praxis, the supernal vision. So, because I'm feeling like there's some magic going on here, and I need to find what's going on there.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and roll for it.
Alright, just figuring out the facts. Okay, I'm overreaching a little bit, so I'm just going to roll Paradox and contain it.
Go for it.
Oh shit.
Okay. Go ahead and roll your wisdom.
Yeah, I'm just gonna. Actually, yeah, hang on.
I'm just putting this token down to represent sort of the crew of the enemy ship.
Oh wow, just enough.
Nice. So Hall sort of feels a... I don't know, I imagine it's sort of a, like, twisting in the muscle to the left of your the left of your left eyeball, which probably causes some amount of breaking blood vessels, causing a little bit of a red discoloration on the left side of Hull's face. But go ahead and cast the spell.
Oh, womp womp.
Rip. So I will also offer you success at a cost. You will get the spell off, but you will have a -2 penalty to actions not involving magic for the scene, similar to having active mage sight up.
All right, I'll take that.
Okay. The spell goes off. The sort of patterns of the world in front of you rearrange themselves into an understanding of symbols. And as you look over the ship with your supernal vision, trying to pick out things resonant with the supernal, let me just look over at the example spell so I don't cheat you out of anything. So, you see, are you casting it on sort of an area of the ship? Probably is that's how Hull would have investigated.
It's an unveiling spell that I'm casting on myself.
Okay.
So it's
by
kind of
studying a person, place, or location. There we go. Okay.
Yeah. But I would probably look to, because if my peripheral has given me any indication as to where the spell came from, then I'm probably looking to whatever is there.
Yep. Okay. So looking towards the aft of the ship, at the steering column, you see a number of people up there. Some manning small guns mounted up there. Some wielding their own pistols and getting ready to meet the engaged or those being engaged. You felt the peripheral, ping, for lack of a better word, emanating from a slender figure standing beside the helmsman, somewhere about there. And is that who you would spend a turn investigating?
Definitely.
Okay, so you spent the turn casting a spell, so we'll give Pascal a chance to do an action, and then we'll do your studying.
Rather than jump to spell casting, Pascal's going to try to continue on with the plan and join some of the other crew in boarding the other ship. If anything, the magical effect has now piqued his curiosity, and now he's going to be interested in getting his eyes on the hold of the ship, firsthand.
Okay. So you're attempting to basically board the ship, and what when you get there?
Just kind of engage in the fight through to see if they have anything like magical there. I mean, he's not going to turn on his active mage sight just yet because active combat, but now he's going to be, he was planning on helping the crew engage in a melee, and now he has like a secondary objective of see if there's anything magical on board.
Okay. Give me a combat roll then. Either brawl or weaponry or firearms of some sort.
Yeah, he'll bring along like some flintlocks, but he'll just start with punches, I guess. So brawl and strength.
Yep.
Should I add any for the plan here? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead and add the 2. Okay, 1 success. Your fists are not lethal weapons, presumably. So you get a good clock in the face of the merchant crewman who is attempting to stop you from getting off of the plank, and you make it onto the shipboard, where you and your fellows are immediately intercepted by cutlass-wielding fellows. Not military looking, but the people on the ship are very uncharacteristically, to Pascal's experience, willing to fight for their private equity overlords. And the crew of the ship will give this a do. Oh god, this font is horrible. Okay, so the crew fights back. A couple of your men are intercepted by the before they manage to make it onto the ship. Grappling hooks cut, planks sort of successfully barricaded, leading to about half the manpower making it onto the ship this turn that you would have hoped. They're not permanently sort of shoved off, but they have split your approach. Hull.
Yeah. So, what information am I getting from my supernal vision?
Okay, so investigating this person, looking at them through your symbolically enhanced vision, you can tell that this person is not awakened, but they do not have that shard of the abyss lodged within their soul that you have seen in every other sleeper you've looked at with your new vision. In system terms, they're a sleepwalker, but Hall might not know that term at this point.
Yeah. This is a pretty new thing that I was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How much mana? No. To which supernal world? No. You do pick up. Actually, give me a perception roll. Wits plus composure.
Okay.
We'll count this as a roll related to magic for purposes of your penalty.
I'm always one short of an exception.
Nice. Okay. So you can tell also that this person has something on them which also is of interest to your supernal vision. There is an object that is in their left hand, which is resonant with awakened magic. It has some sort of active effect which lives within it. In system terms, it's imbued. And that's all you get from sort of this turn, and you can decide what you do with your next turn as we roll back down to Pascal. What is next on the flow chart?
So how's the combat looking now that since we didn't get all the manpower on board? Like, what's the...
So the folks that are on this ship are not as combat hardened as you would expect were it to be sort of a military vessel or some sort, but they're fighting back hard. Your crew are also not necessarily tempered in combat, so there's blows being traded back and forth. It's a stalemate at this point in your eyes.
At this point, Pascal will probably pull out one of those flintlock and try to basically, if any of these like ferocious merchants are getting close to actually causing serious injury, he's going to try to blast them away from the crew. So focus on trying to, keep the other people on the boarding action safe till we can get more manpower over.
Okay. This sounds in keeping with the plan. Give me a Dex plus firearms roll with the bonus. Cool. Oof.
Yeah.
Big successes, yeah. You drop someone. Whoever was holding up the rest of the, you drop someone basically as they were just about to shove off the plank for the other boarding party, and he drops to the ground, clutching his wounds. The rest of the pirates surge on, emboldened by your success. And I'll drop the HP of the crew by... There we go. Why is it not going down? There we go. Okay. Next is the defenders. Okay, that's two successes. Pascal, you take a blow or a glancing blow to, well, actually for 2 lethal, it's probably more than a glancing blow. It's probably quite deep. As a cutlass, while you're distracted, lining up your shot cuts you to the left of your, or the left side of your abdomen. Take 2 lethal.
Okay.
And back up to Hull. You see this clash going on, this sort of violent meeting of 2 sides in your... You don't have your active sight up right now, but you do see, sleepers clashing and all sorts of probably symbolic noise emerging out of, this battle. What does Hull do this turn?
First off, I'd like to bring up my sight, and I'm going to spend a mana to bring up Prime Sight as well.
Okay, so both the path rulings and Prime?
Yep, exactly.
Cool. All right, that's reflexive. You sort of bring up your sight, looking upon, this scene through the eyes of the primal wild, and you see resonances. You see, violence and pain, and you see, steel and wood, and underlaying sort of these new emotional resonances springing up from the conflict, almost like a backdrop for the pain and anger and fear smeared across the more stable resonances. For life sight, every entity that you see, every human-shaped being, it appears to be alive. Some of them have injuries or tilts.
Am I seeing any spells?
You do see a spell. You see, you see something. You see... Oh, you have Prime Sight, so you do recognize spells. But you see an awakened spell upon all the members of this crew. Sort of hovering above them, flitting around with their movements. Not linking them necessarily, but sort of overlaid with them.
Okay. See, part of me wants to try and fuck around with the item that person had, because I think Hole would put together that, oh, okay, that person isn't a seer like us, but has something that allows them to, cast magic. So part of me wants to fuck around with that. I wouldn't be able to dispel this spell because I don't know mind.
Prime magic could possibly screw with the object itself, but from where you're presently standing, I'm going to say that you don't necessarily have sensory range to it from this distance.
Okay. In that case, yeah, I think that's going to be... I think that's the most fruitful avenue. So Hull is going to try and get into a position where they can see that person a bit better and see... I'm assuming they're not, like, waving it around, so...
Yep, you can do that relatively easily with, a turn's worth of hustling. You could move sort of onto one of these planks, which would leave you sort of in the open, but you would have better line of sight. Is that what Hull wants to do?
Yeah, I think so. And she's gonna kind of indicate. She's gonna kind of try and indicate to, I mean, I'm assuming that Pascal isn't really in communicative distance.
Well, I mean, you could shout. it is theoretically in hearing distance, but there is the blast of, igniting gunpowder and shouts and screams. So it's probably going to get drowned out unless you, really scream your lungs out.
I think in that case she's just gonna kind of indicate to the people around, the other crew around her, that she needs to get a good look at that person at the aft, by the steering column, and kind of gesticulates that just to indicate to the people around her what she's trying to do and what she's focusing on.
Okay. So this will all happen during your turn. We'll give it a sort of flexible understanding of how long goes in a turn for the sake of this combat. But as you sort of start walking out towards the gangplank, somehow I imagine Hall doesn't run, but you feel a hand on your arm, and Balthazar sort of pulls you around slightly and shouts over the gunpowder in your ear, "What are you doing? You're totally exposed." Do you sort of shove Balthazar off and then continue on your way, or stop and try to negotiate with him, or?
I think she kind of clasps his arm back and says, "With me," and kind of points at the aft, to indicate that that's the important thing right here.
Okay. Give me a presence plus. Well, whatever you think is best. Either persuasion or expression or empathy.
I think persuasion makes sense.
Okay. -1. It would normally be a bigger penalty for his composure, but he likes you.
Okay. 2 dice. That's 1 success.
Nice. All right. Balthazar seems uncertain, but is by your side and seems ready to intercept anyone who tries to stop your forward progress onto the gangplank as he comes with you. All right. You make it onto the plank, and you we'll say that this took a bit for you to get into position, but next turn you have sort of full line of sight onto all of the people who are in the aft. Moving down to Pascal.
I think, moving back away from the person that was that slashed at him, Pascal's going to focus for a second and activate reflexively Mage Armor for space.
Okay. You could have done that before you got caught, if you wanted to.
I chose to allow it not to. Yeah.
Okay,
No,
cool.
I thought about it, but I was like, I'll take it in this instance. We're still newbie mages and stuff, right? But
Right.
the active action is he'll now focus on trying to to dodge and maybe enter into the fray, but try to prevent another sort of hit. Maybe I don't know if you'll allow it in terms of with the dodge action, but aggressively intercept people, right? Try to help clear the path.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I let Hall have a long turn, so I'll let you have a long turn. Give me a stamina plus brawl roll
Okay.
to represent you sort of, trying to physically intercept yourself into, where these people want to go.
Does the plan tie into this at all or not?
Yes. I think that as long as you're still facilitating the boarding, you're acting with the plan, but once you break to chase down your secondary objective of going towards the aft, if you do so sort of before everything's all packaged up with a bow, that's when things will start to go haywire.
Okay.
Okay. 4 successes, so that is 1 more than I was looking for, which means that some folks are rolling some chance dice. Okay. Moving on. Let me just quickly look over space armor again. That's the one where if you're
That's
dodging.
yeah, if you can apply it to like firearms as well, and if I dodge an attack, I can spend mana to redirect it, and act
Mhm.
as if I rolled a 2 on a hit.
Okay. 1 second. Because there's another mage armor that has a thing that happens if someone dramatically fails an attack against you with the armor.
I think that might be Mind. Mind gives people beaten down.
Okay, well, whatever. What's your defense?
It's what was it? Wits plus athletics, right? Or is it Dex plus athletics?
It is the lower of your wits or dexterity plus athletics.
Okay. So with the space armor up, it's only 3.
Okay.
The dodging.
Cool dodge. Character successfully.
Dodging is like
Space.
doubled rolled against, I think.
Yep. But you don't apply your normal defense rating to the attack, right? Like you roll double your defense and subtract successes. Okay. Cool. So
I have a dice pool of 6 for dodging.
yep. Well, they're failing anyway, so any number of successes.
All right. Four. That's
Okay, cool.
3
Yeah,
4s in a row.
that's how much mana are you spending? You can spend up to 3.
Up to 3. I'll redirect 2 attacks then.
Okay, cool. So how does that go down? You have a bunch of folks that you sort of interposed yourself between. They, slash at you with cutlasses. Maybe one of them fires a pistol ball at you. How does this redirection go?
So Pascal's going to be using his supernatural understanding of nearby space with the mage armor up to kind of just be in position just so that with just a little bit of nudging here and there, they end up tripping over themselves, crashing into each other. The attacks, maybe they weren't 100% aware of where they were going to go, and then now it's just just a lot of really subtle nudges all at once in the chaotic melee.
Yeah, so one crew member attempts to slash at you. You sidestep easily, and that crew member just happened to be a little bit out of position for where the second one thought he would be, and crew member 1 takes a blade right into the gut, and the second crew member who stabbed another one stepped a little bit too far to the right and takes a pistol ball into the square of his back. Almost like a Rube Goldberg machine of pain and suffering. Cool. And we'll count that as another 2 points of damage to the crew. Cool. Back up to Hall. You're standing tall, flanked on one side by Baltazar, looking up at the aft from the middle of this boarding plank in the open air. You see in her hand what seems to be a small rod made out of a dull gray material, about just a little bit longer than the length of a man's hand.
Okay. Does she see us?
She is well, she at this angle, you can see that this definitely is a feminine figure. She has tanned but white, or she is white but has deeply tanned skin, is shouting out and barking commands, looking over the sort of whole of the battlefield, but as you're standing sort of alone in the middle of this very open space, she probably locks eyes with you at that point, given how strange of a sight you must present.
Hull is like 100% meeting her gaze, unblinking, just like, I am fucking looking at you. Excuse me, sorry. Now I have a question. Because
I may have an answer.
Word of command lets me activate like a magical item. If I don't know what the magical item does, how would that work?
So basically, with her active mage sight up, Hall can, how would I couch this in sort of the symbology of the primal wild? Hall sees this rod, sort of through the supernal world of the primal wilds, as a snare. This is a snare which has been sprung up around a spell, trapping it within, but snares have mechanisms and, weak points and sort of trigger points. And so there is a trigger point to this snare, which has, let it loose, and she could, step on it with her magic from a distance to activate it, or perhaps, yeah.
Okay.
Or perhaps, fuck with it in some other way. You could use the compelling practice to maybe attempt to stop it from doing its thing, or make it activate again.
I'm torn between chaos mode and just like seeing what happens if I just fire this thing off full blast, or to try and stop it. I think I'm not going to go chaos mode though. I think I'm
No
gonna...
chaos gremlin today.
It's tempting, but there are people with swords and guns around, and people are getting stabbed and things. So it's kind of, yeah. Maybe if this was less of a fraught situation, Hull would be good with that. But I think she's the Hull. She's gonna like be the bulwark and stop this thing. Excuse me. So I'm gonna drop. The supernal vision, because she's gotten the information that she wanted. Gonna do a compelling to like kind of basically like pinch off the source and kind of plug the hole that this sort of this rod has opened to kind of bring this spell through.
Okay. Sounds good. In terms of, I'll have this cost a mana.
Okay, that's good. Sorry, just queuing up the spell as well. Do I need to sort of have it last a long time, or can this just be an instantaneous thing?
You think that probably, you don't need to have duration on this, you don't think? You're not sort of suppressing the spell, you're just sort of, triggering the object's capacity for ending the spell.
Okay, cool. I think this is drawing on her magical persona.
Definitely.
God, I should have kept the ramping condition. I'm definitely going to go trigger paradox. And I'm going to spend willpower as well.
Okay. All in.
Okay, first of all, paradox. I'm going to contain this.
Oh.
Okay, just going to roll my wisdom. That's almost a exception, damn it.
Yep. Okay, yep. Hull takes another point of bashing damage as, I think probably this is like a... You know how sometimes you get, like, those cramps in, like, you know, the base of your hand and the meat, and it's, like, really awkward because you can't really move your thumb? One of those sort of twinges off as Hull, I don't know. I imagine there's some sort of, like, tactile element to Hull attempting to, you know, interact with this object. With
She's
hand.
doing the same thing she did when she dropped the anchor the last time, where she's just like kind of raising her hand like a wall, and she can feel like the twinge as she does that.
Okay, go ahead and roll the spell.
Are you shitting me? That was 7 dice.
Rip. Okay, so I will offer success at a cost again. So you will successfully stop or, you know, compel this object to stop its current effect. But what's a good downside? But you will sort of, you know, you can't sort of predict what effect it will have on the people who is under its effect as a result. Something unfortunate will happen to the, you know, people who are currently under the effect of this spell as a result of sort of your clumsiness of attempting to cinch it off. Pull the snare tight.
I'm good with that. I think
Okay.
they knew what they signed up for.
Cool. So you walk, you know, you have this cool cinematic moment where you're meeting the gaze of this, you know, other commandant standing up on the aft, looking down upon you. You raise up your hand, and it twitches a bit, almost sort of probably comically visibly, you know, this painful cramp. And there's this momentary bit of fighting that you're doing against this object. It's resisting your attempt to pull its mechanism in a way that's not designed for, and you hear this sort of snap, this twang, this crack, however it resonates through Hull's primal vision of, you know, the tension being loosed. The effect ends, but every single crewmate of the, you know, ship that you're invading cries out simultaneously in one voice and falls backwards. And you know, the crewmates of La Rosa, who were presently engaged in combat with them, are very taken aback immediately. Some of them, you know, were caught mid-swing at now empty air and fall down themselves. Others are just sort of staring agog at this synchronized performance, this maneuver, this affliction. And Balthazar, you know, who, and the folks who are still on board of La Rosa, who, you know, are looking at Hull or see this happen, all, you know, give you very confused, perplexed side eye. You don't think that they're, you know, in mechanical terms, having a breaking point right now, but there definitely is some amount of sort of inching away from Hull, as, you know, clearly Hull held out her hand in this fashion and struck down the entire crew of the ship.
And to Hull's side, when they all kind of cry out, it's like this sort of synesthetic thing where, like, the air itself kind of tears with the sound, and the kind of resonances all twist and kind of jagged, and Hull is just kind of like, Hull feels it in that same pain in her hand, but is just like steadfast, and kind of a little bit like privately satisfied at the effect and at the fallout.
Okay.
I had to step away for 2 or 3 minutes. I see a spell got cast.
Yeah.
What's
um.
mhm.
Well, so basically, Hull successfully cast a prime spell or compelling spell. Well, not successfully. Hull cast a prime compelling spell to cause the device to snip off its magical effect. The dice roll was a failure, but
Mhm.
Hull accepted Scrig accepted success at a cost, which was that when the spell was inelegantly ended, every crewmate on this ship. What did I name it? You don't know the name of the ship. Every merchant crewman fell to the ground simultaneously, screamed out simultaneously in one voice, alarming and disorienting and unnerving all the members of the crew, especially those who watched Hull, very obviously hold up her hand towards the aft of this ship immediately preceding this occurring.
Mm.
Okay. And with that, the fight very visibly has been taken out of everyone on the ship, including, those from a commanding position. So we will call this combat over. And I will change the music to something less stressful. There we go. And also, this is a good time for a break. So I'll be back in 5 to 10 minutes. You guys go get some tea, get some coffee, go get your favorite sweater, and I will see you back soon.
Okay.
Cool. Cheers.
All right, back from break time. Before we had the cut, the Cabal and their crew had successfully led an incursion, albeit a bloody and messy and uncharacteristically violent one, onto a ship which they have since learned the name is the Arbalest, flying British flags. But yeah, so the immediate aftermath of all of the crew of the Arbalest seemingly giving up the ghost at once. How do you proceed to clean up? The crew sort of immediately moves to sort of round up all of the crew members and bind them and sit them in a pile in the middle where they can be easily watched. What do Paul and Pascal do?
Well, Hull is focused entirely on that woman, and wants to make sure that she is first of all captured, and wants to get a good look at her and interrogate her.
Okay. So how does that go? Does Hull just sort of forge past all of the crew members alone and stalk up the stairs, try to enlist some assistance in achieving these goals?
She's gonna impress upon certainly Balthazar and anybody else immediately around her when the fight ends that we need to grab her. We need to get her right now. Does she also like scream and drop, or?
Yes, actually.
Aha. Okay. Well, I think she's still got the same approach. Still, we need to grab this one particular person with me, kind of thing.
Okay.
And leads the way.
All right. Pascal, you looking behind you, sort of see Hall with Balthazar and some other men in tow heading up towards the aft. Do you sort of join, or do you help the rest of the crew in subduing the rest of the crew of the Arbalest and ransacking it?
Well, Pascal's going to join and use this opportunity. Pascal felt the peripheral go off. Does that give like a sort of directional at all, or?
So yes, it does. Per Signs of Sorcery, you get sort of a location of where the effect emanated from. So Pascal's peripheral would have sort of given him an inkling as to an effect which sort of was hovering over basically the entire ship, which ended at a certain point. Would have gotten a sort of sense from his peripheral of an effect coming short from behind him while he was engaged in combat, basically before this occurred, before the effect hovering over the ship ended, but without sort of keen periphery or anything like that. There's no detail that he would have been able to ascertain from the effects before they were gone, since you pointedly did not have active sight up.
Well, he's probably going to use this opportunity now to, I guess, head in that direction then and activate active mage sight for his path, just to kind of, sniff things out, see if he can find that. So that would be near the front of the ship still, like near the helm?
Yep. So I'm imagining that the, aft is slightly elevated and there are stairs on either side of where would be the captain's quarters leading up towards it. So Hull and Balthazar are heading up the left side. Pascal, I imagine, going up the right side just because he was deeper into the fray. Activating your active mage sight, looking at the aft, you sort of see not a whole lot here, aside from sort of vague lingering effects of something or other, except for something in the hand of this woman on the floor groaning next to the helmsman, also on the floor groaning.
So yeah, that will definitely catch his interest, and he'll move up with Hull and Balthazar then.
Okay. So by the time she manages to get back on her feet, I imagine that Hall and her entourage are upon her. You know, get at your direction. Some of the members of La Rosa, grab her and haul her up to her feet. But probably a little more gently than they would if they were a man. Sickening examples of bias on display. And yeah, she meets the gaze of Hull directly once again, because I imagine Hull sort of being up at the front.
Hull is going to say, isn't going to address her directly, and is going to say to Balthazar, keep your blade on her.
Yeah, he already had it out, so he, keeps his grip on it. He's not in a fighting stance, but he's still, looking at you, with a combination of, respect and wariness. But he's got his blade out.
Has Pascal kind of is alongside us, or?
Yeah, Pascal's probably gonna
I imagine Pascal being sort of on
rejoin
the
you.
other side of the people up in the aft as you first see him, but you could very easily sort of, walk around to stand next to them if you wanted to.
He's been staring pretty intently at the object in the woman's hand, but he'll look up towards Hull and Balthazar then, and just kind of indicate towards her,
Okay. Are you going to are you attempting to scrutinize or use focus mage sight on this thing now? When you say really focused on it, or
he's been focusing on it just in regular active sight. He'll wait till it's in his own hands to scrutinize. So he's probably gonna gesture towards the woman and kind of ask you mind if I take a look at that thing in her hand?
Yeah, I think that's the best way to go.
Okay. So at this point of you all sort of, ignoring her presence, aside from manhandling her, she'll sort of spit out very acerbically in an accent that sounds British but is not, British but a little different. I think that the what's it called, the roaded shift, where the Americans and the Brits started pronouncing their R's differently, is close to happening at this point. But I'll say that you can sort of tell that she has an accent that marks her as not from the island of Britain. It says, so the trash from Nassau has caught up with us at last.
Hull isn't going to respond to that. Is just going to be kind of keeping her gaze, and just essentially stonewalling and letting her, run her mouth to see what comes out, and kind of, maybe briefly looks to Pascal and what Pascal is focused on, and is just yeah, that's the right way to go. But it's just kind of giving her this intimidating silent front.
Okay, well, in that case, give me a resolve plus intimidation roll. Penalized by 2 for her composure.
Oh, wow.
Actually, no, I think this would be a composure plus intimidation roll, because composure is the more social of them, but still -2 for her composure.
It's 2 successes.
Okay, well, that's plenty. So she stares right back at you. She meets your gaze, and you keep up this silent staring contest for what to her must feel like, an eternity, but really goes on for, probably a minute, before she, breaks from your gaze and looks to the side, down and to the side, giving you sort of an indication that, you won the staring contest.
Yes.
So no one else said anything, I presume, during that minute, because Hall is scary. So
Pascal, yeah, just took the object and has started to scrutinize it.
okay. Um,
Did we have a physical descriptor for it yet?
so a small rod made out of what looks like lead.
Okay.
It is carved with runes of high speech. But so did you just walk up and wrestle it out of her, or did you hold out your hand expectantly for it, or?
Probably tried to wrestle it a little bit,
Okay. As you grab her hand and try to wrestle it out, she seems to fight a little bit, but then she gives it up to you, and she makes a big show of stumbling backwards from your show of roughness. And since Pascal is there, I will give Pascal a dexterity plus wits roll to do something, as her other hand comes out of a pouch at her belt, and it seems like it's she's moving her hand somewhere. Penalized by 3, which is her dexterity.
Oh, no successes.
No successes. Oh.
Well,
Pascal, or as she stumbles back a little bit, and in that same motion, she pulls a sort of small, what looks like a small glass globe out of her pouch. And before Pascal can do anything, she holds it up before her own face and smashes it. And
could I
both
take
of you.
Well, I was about to say, would a dramatic failure change anything about this? Like taking one here?
Hmm. Yeah, it would change something. So,
I'll say that, yeah, Pascal's so focused, and after seeing the rest of the crew kind of just crumple and have the fight knocked out of them, Pascal's kind of expecting this woman to be the same way. So
okay.
her sudden show of like, whatever she's doing is like takes him completely by surprise.
Okay. Mark down a beat for that. And so I'm gonna say that Pascal still has like his hand on her hand and like is pulled forward a little bit with her when she stumbles back. And both Hall and Pascal feel their peripheral sight, cry out about an effect occurring before them. And Hall can peg it as a mind effect. Does Pascal still have his active sight up?
Yes.
Okay, so Pascal can very clearly see sort of an imago forming before him of a. What would it look like?
Pascal
quickly.
tended to see the mind effects, especially very visually, like recordings
Yeah.
or sight-based things.
So Pascal sees sort of the chains within her head sort of light up and then crumble from within. And the backsplash of that from Pascal sort of being too close from that dramatic failure leads him to get caught in the periphery of this effect. But both of you feel this effect go off, and she crashes this globe in front of her. There's a powerful effect, and she drops back to drops onto her back in front of you, and starts to drool a little bit, actually. Her mouth sort of hanging open agape, her eyes slightly glassy. Her chest still moves up and down. She is still alive, but clearly something has addled her or affected her mind in some way, since you both recognize this as a mind effect, and a strong one. Or in Pascal's case, I recognize it as a powerful one, even if you don't know exactly what it did.
With my prime sight, can I see that the spell is still there, or the effect is still there, or is it instantaneous?
If you had your prime effect or your prime sight up, you would see sort of the effect occur, and then end.
Okay, right.
Pascal, give me a Gnosis plus mind roll.
Okay, can I spend willpower on this?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh
No
boy.
successes.
Yeah, you have no idea. You were just too caught up in sort of, this sequence of events moving so fast. And in fact, you yourself felt some of your chains being, scarred and twisted somewhat. You have, for the moment, forgotten what you were doing for the week before you first arrived on Antigua. I don't know what that will actually, manifest as, but it'll fade in time. Out of character, I'm telling you.
Okay.
But so, everyone else reacts sort of predictably to this. Balthazar, gets ready to run her through before she falls backwards, onto her butt, sort of out of running through position. The two who are on the side of her, scramble to try to, secure her once again before realizing that she's not struggling or really moving at all. What do the two of you do?
Pascal's still blinking a little bit, as he's coming, realizing he's he notices he's forgotten some stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's just kind of blinking a little bit in shock, and then clearly trying to remember something.
Mm-hmm. Out of character, I'll tell you this is a mental condition, so you could pattern scour it if you wanted to.
Okay. Not necessarily all right then. That would cost mana, you say?
Yeah, 3 mana, I think, or
3 mana.
I forget.
All right, let me go look up actually. So
yeah. What does Hull do?
Hull is kind of gonna let her fall. She can see from her sight that she's still alive, and understood that it was a mind effect that is now passed. So she kind of lets everybody else kind of see to her, but notice that Pascal was affected, and is kind of looking to Pascal and sort of wants to talk to Pascal about what he was getting from what information he got. Is he okay?
Yeah. In sort of the immediate hubbub, if you withdraw a bit from sort of the crowd of folks that have gathered around this woman, you have, a little bit of space for privacy for you two to, find yourselves alone to talk.
So, Pascal's going to pattern scour stamina, and then spend that mana immediately on the pattern restoration as 2 instant actions.
There we go, that's the word.
So over the course of 10, 12-ish seconds, just kind of visibly shakes a little bit as the stamina pattern.
Yep, and Paul can recognize what he has done, since these are all sort of things inherent to what she can also do.
And then bolsters the mental fortitude with a little bit of physical fortitude. It'll come back.
So Hull is kind of, first of all checking that Pascal is okay. Are you going to fall over as well? And then sees that he's shoring himself up, and then is kind of relays what she figured out from her supernal vision, and she's not a seer like us. But
Pascal will relay just how powerful that mind effect was, in case Hull couldn't catch it. So and probably add that she definitely works for them though, or worked with them.
Oh yeah, these are this is I don't know. Do we have kind of a term for the magic itself? Because she wouldn't say yes. This is supernal magic.
Well, you would definitely know the high speech words for those. You would be able to say, magic in the high speech, the supernal in the high speech. Whether you translate those into, or what you translate those into in, fallen phenomenal language terms is sort of probably up to whatever is syncretized out of your discussions among each other.
Yeah, we haven't met that many creatures that have done non-supernal but still kind of supernatural effects. So Pascal probably still has it just as like, magic, not necessarily gotten into the nitty-gritty of it yet.
I feel like Hull would start peppering in high speech, certainly when she's speaking with the rest of the company, and kind of peppering it in there. I think what she wants to indicate is that person wasn't a seer like us, but those things were, magic as we know it. So yeah, like
Pascal probably asked for clarification. Like, was she human?
I mean, I'm assuming my life site shows nothing weird going on there.
Yep, she seemed like a perfectly normal human-shaped human.
Yeah, I mean, seems like a person, but she kind of she's gonna lean on the high speech first of all for like sleepwalker, I guess. Yeah, like not asleep, but not a seer. Like
not asleep but not awake.
Somewhere between and carrying.
Sleeping unsteadily.
I think that's definitely probably how Pascal would take it to, like someone who's between, or like not quite one thing or the other. Then in that regard for sleepwalkers,
and notably, you all have both seen artifacts before, but this is the first time that you have seen an imbued item in metagame terms, an item sort of crafted by human awakened hands rather than delivered directly from the supernal. Though you probably won't learn all the details of that until you've done, some study of the object.
Yeah, she's gonna sort of say, like, clearly this is our lead, indicating the rod, and then suddenly realizes, addresses Balthazar and is like, search her for anything else, and be careful.
A not quite seer with a not quite artifact. I guess at that, Pascal's going to try to do like a quick scrutiny of it, like a revelation roll.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead and just roll me. Which Arcanum are you using?
I assume that he would kind of see it's more of a mind effect than a space one, right?
Yep. So go ahead and roll me mind plus Gnosis -2.
Okay. Mind Gnosis.
And you can spend willpower if you so desire.
I will. So that's 1. Rolling. 1 success.
That's enough for revelation. So for surface information, you arrive at sort of the same meta game information that Hall did with her supernal vision, that this is an imbued item. It is an object fashioned by, an object of the phenomenal world, fashioned by hands in the phenomenal world to contain a spell. But rather than viewing it as a snare, Pascal probably sees it as sort of a... what's it called? So those things that, if you have, like, a big length of chain, and go to the hardware store to buy it, it'll be sort of wrapped around something, and if you have, like, an anchor on a ship, like, the chain will be wrapped around sort of that column that rotates. What's it called?
Yeah. I don't know what the name is for it, but yeah, like a wheel, like a kind of anchor.
Yeah, chain, or Pascal would see it as that, as sort of a column with a chain wrapped about it, which it dispenses. And it was created by Awakened Magic. It is a mind effect, primarily, but also has elements of Prime in it. Sort of this arcanum that Pascal doesn't quite understand but knows of by this point through, witnessing magic and witnessing his Cabal mates utilizing Prime.
Mm-hmm.
But given some further time with it, you'd need to strip away the opacity to learn exactly what the effect it does is, or more about who made it. But in terms of physical description, it's a small leaden rod with a length a little bit longer than a man's hand, or the width of a man's palm. It has runes of high speech across it, with meanings ascribed to them, such as loyalty, order, fervor.
So looking back around to Hull, Pascal's probably going to ask, and we didn't run into any any other seer on the ship itself, right? It's just this I don't know if he would have used the term for sleepwalker, but he might just say like half seer. It's just this half seer then.
As far as she could tell,
Yeah, she
haven't
didn't.
had a chance to like scrutinize everybody, but that's a good idea. I think Hull is gonna want to be double checking that, bringing up supernal vision again and just like giving everybody a good look.
Okay, you're out of combat, so if you're embarking to do that immediately, I'm not gonna give you, or I'm not gonna make you roll again to cast the spell. You just do so. And well, I mean, what, you didn't want to take like another possible 3 bashing damage from all the paradox building up?
And then miss
okay.
the roll.
So Balthazar, probably has asked the 2 folks guarding her, or grabbing her, to search her thoroughly, rather than deigning to do so himself. And he goes off to direct the rest of the crew in searching the rest of the ship. What does Pascal do?
I don't. I'm not quite sure at this point.
Can I
I
make
mean,
a suggestion?
Yeah. Do you have an idea?
I think if Hull is checking over the crew, then probably Pascal should check over the rest of the ship and accompany the rest of these guys, just to see if anything strange is going on.
Oh yeah, that's a good
in
idea.
Hold or anything. Yeah.
And he'll actually have an active mage sight as well, especially paying attention to the space aspects.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So one thing I will say is that as Pascal descends the staircase from the elevated aft, his peripheral mage sight goes off while he has his active mage sight up, and only Pascal's active mage sight. You feel sort of this decentralized, like a stone. Pascal experiences the sensation of watching a stone drop into water as ripples ripple out from it, and Pascal's peripheral mage sight hears the echoes of those ripples reaching the shore and then bouncing back from every human being within sensory range of him.
From them?
Yes. Within them.
With his active mage sight active, he'll just like quickly, turn towards them then, I guess, space in mind, not spending any for spirit.
Okay.
Notice any weird effects from that?
Yeah, so looking at the nearest person, including himself, give me 1 Gnosis plus mind roll.
Nope.
Oh, there's 1. Okay, so something has happened within their minds. Something has changed also within your mind. some small, slight thing. A very small, slight thing. A shifting, a nudge, a bump, different, a shading. But it's the same shifting or shading for everyone, and it did not come from an effect anywhere within your sensory range.
To clarify, it didn't. It definitely also did not come from the imbued item, right?
Correct. It seems to have come from within everyone that you saw. Separately, individually, but simultaneously.
Pascal will start asking if everyone's all right. Have they changed like at all? Like, obviously he's not going to make a big deal out of it if they're all just standing there, but how did they react to this?
So the way that Pascal sort of understood this probably took the form of seeing, their demons in Mystigos terminology, the sort of cloud of thoughts, minds, emotions, identities, memories that's constantly buzzing around. All of them sort of made a space at one spot, made a certain space that was then filled in with a certain pattern. He can't tell what changed about them, but everyone was changed or changed themselves. He can't tell the difference at this juncture in some way, but no one, acts different. No one, aside from Pascal, perked up and looked around. No one, fell over or fell asleep. And when Pascal asks everyone, "Hey, are you doing okay?" they assume that he means, physically wise, right? Like, oh, yep, nope, not bleeding. You should go tend to Jose, though. He took it bad, etc. And notably, Pascal probably noticed that Hall didn't display any signs of recognition. I mean, Hall's sort of impassive generally, but I imagine that the company, whenever they have a passive ping, sort of affirm with each other. Making
Pascal
an assumption.
Pascal will just kind of nod then and make a note to follow up with this later. Maybe ask Hull.
Okay, but other than that, nothing happens. Maybe if you wait for a couple seconds to half a minute, no further changes occur to the clouds of demons surrounding everyone or composing everyone, and then you can proceed with your search. Hall, I'm not going to make you roll for anything. You spend, a long time sort of walking around inspecting everyone. What does this look like to people not looking with wizard eyes?
It looks like she is. It's like she's sort of looking through people, and like imagine a sort of officer's inspection. She's very appraising, very kind of cold, and really just like looking through them. She doesn't bother to make eye contact with them. She's just kind of systematically sweeping her gaze over them, looking for anything out of place mystically. But to everybody else, it just looks like she's kind of just gazing over them and looking for something inscrutable.
Okay, yep. So I'm going to say it probably takes at least 15 minutes to look over everyone, maybe verging on 20 to half an hour. There's a lot of crew on a ship this size. But she does not find a single person who is not a sleeper on inspecting them.
I'm keeping my prime side up as well.
Okay.
And do I see any sort of spells on them or anything still, or is there anything lingering like that?
You see the after effects of spells on them. You see no active spells on them. And if you wanted to, you could delve further into, sort of the lingering traces of the spells while they last, but nothing currently actively affecting them. Obviously, you see, things that you could use as yantras, and they all are living human beings. You see sort of resonances coming as
All the
expected.
expected stuff.
Yeah, normal stuff.
In terms of the residue, just obviously out of character, that would be like a signature nimbus sort of thing.
Yes.
Just to clarify, because imbued items, they don't leave a signature nimbus. So
Interesting. Okay, well, in that case,
but if you like, but yeah.
Yeah, in that case, they would not. But I'll read over that. But you do recognize that they were affected by a spell and are no longer affected by a spell.
Okay, yeah. So that's fine. If there's nothing out of the ordinary with the crew, then she's gonna return to the one eye open one and see how she's doing.
So you make your way back up to the aft. Pascal, meanwhile, heading down into the hold, probably, amidst a crush of other pirates eager to, grab their booty and bring it on to La Rosa.
Yeah, and having had his mind affected twice now, Pascal's definitely trying to move with urgency, right?
Mhm.
Maybe be a little bit less thorough in the interest of just speed. He doesn't really want to stay on this ship any longer than absolutely necessary.
Okay, sounds good. You've got your sights up, which will impede you somewhat. So give me a wits plus investigation roll minus the 2.
Okay. 1 success.
Okay, sweet. So Pascal goes with the rest of the crew. There's fairly standard looking cargo aboard this ship. You find so just thinking about which order I want this thing. You find, a lot of standard looking cargo. You find linens, you find food, water, supplies, you find some, I already said linens, you find lumber, you find other goods that sort of Pascal would know, would indicate that the ship is coming from New England, the English colonies in the Americas. Tobacco, perhaps, other such things. But amidst one crate, which is sort of hidden behind a number of others, Pascal finds a small box that seems to be of different manufacture than the others. It is a small pine box, and when Pascal opens it up, he finds within it 3 snuff boxes, 1 pocket mirror, and 1 rusty iron key. All of them resonant with something.
You said it was a rusty iron key, 3 what boxes?
Snuff boxes. So
Okay.
boxes containing snuff. The mirror is contain or is resonant with some sort of mind effect. The key is resonant with some sort of space effect, and the 3 snuff boxes have some effect he cannot recognize.
All right. Yeah, he's definitely going to grab all those.
Yep, and moving up from the hold, Pascal, I'm sure, probably finds himself in the captain's quarters, where Balthazar maybe already is in there, sort of perusing through records, and Balthazar is happy to, tell you what he's found, if slightly unnerved and slightly happy to be away from Hull. Or not happy to be away from Hull, but, slightly happy to be sort of off guard amidst all of the weirdness. So you're not our former sailing master, but it seems that this ship, according to its manifests, was supposed to be heading for Santiago. big, good settlement, or big Spanish settlement there. Good place to unload this sort of cargo. Pascal, give me a intelligence plus academics roll.
Okay. And
+1 because of prior experience.
all right, that is chance die, I believe.
Well,
Is there a button to
the
roll for
+1
chance
would
die?
make it a normal die.
Well, I've got a academics mental skill, right? So it's -3.
Oh yeah,
on
that's right.
chance.
Okay, well, roll your chance die.
Is there a way to roll chance die, or do I just roll like a 0? Do I have something special?
Yeah, just 0, and that should handle it. Okay.
Failure.
No success. Pascal knows that something about that feels off based on where you presently are. Like, that doesn't sound quite right, but you don't know where the ship would be headed if not for Santiago. Maybe you could do some more thinking about it if Pascal was sufficiently disquieted to look into it, or prompted someone else to think about it, but doesn't feel right.
Yeah, he'll make another note to cross-reference with some of his like maps or atlases when he gets back to his cabin on the ship.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Hull,
Uh,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Pascal will ask, like, is anything else? Is that just the main thing the records say? Is what the last bouts are. Like, anything else interesting crop up?
So the ship set sail from Jamestown, which is interesting because most of those English ships take their goods back over to that dismal isle, heading back for Europe across the northern Atlantic. But it's not unheard of for a New England ship to be heading down into the Bahamas. Very strange. Very, very strange day. Do you think it was a strange day? And he sort of, pays more attention to you in particular. Before, you got the sense that he was just sort of talking out loud to himself, but now his attention sort of snapped onto you as he's, looking probingly at your face.
Pascal will like give a half smile and then kind of like shrug a bit and say, no more than usual for us.
Oh, it seems more unusual than usual. The merchants don't usually fight with such fervor. They're just looking for a paycheck, and often they're even happy to join us. No one's going to risk their lives when, those money-laden insurance companies will just pay back anyway, and they're not getting paid anymore for keeping the cargo. And they also don't normally scream all together like some sort of damned choir and then fall at once.
Let's just hope that the next ship doesn't have the same troubles. Okay. Our business could become a little bit harder.
Yeah. You definitely get the feeling that, he's asking more pointed questions. He's asking very pointedly at you rather than just sort of, shooting the shit and commiserating. But, you're sort of being easy breezy about it, so he doesn't, say any more to probe into you as he watches you, I don't know, continue or finish what you were doing in there and then walk out.
Yeah, Pascal, trying to, I guess, act definitely as like, casual about it as possible while holding a random assortment of snuff boxes, keys, mirrors, and a small leaden like hand staff, I guess, rod.
Yeah, small rod. Yeah, okay. Going back to Hull. So you're this woman has been sort of drooling into the deck for approximately 15-20 minutes, but after sort of an amount of time, she sort of comes to herself, and snaps up, sits up, and is roughly sort of grabbed by the men aside her, and she yells out, in a disoriented fashion, let me go, I'm going to be late. She'll be so mad. I'm going to be... What are you doing? Who are you?
Hull is gonna bring up, is gonna cast Pierce Deception. I was
Okay.
gonna, home in on the divide between truth and untruth, and kind of open her her hearing to it specifically.
Okay.
Do you want to roll for that?
Yeah.
Okay. She's kind of, I think she's bringing her persona into it, and she's also kind
Yep,
of
sounds good to me.
anchoring it with her dedicated soulstone, because it has now been long enough to dedicate it into it.
Nice.
Yeah, because the it's a dedicated soul stone. That's -3 to paradox, so it
Hmm.
would just be a chance die.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Go ahead and roll. It's the using two dedicated tools where if it's a chance die, you don't even have to roll paradox, right?
Yeah, that's a separate thing.
Okay,
Okay,
cool. Go
successes
ahead
on
and
that.
roll the spell.
Good. Oh, it also rolls paradox. Oh, that's fun. Okay, well I got one success finally.
Yeah. All right, cool. So the spell's up. You look through sort of the symbols of truth or lies emanating from her face, from her bloodstream, from her sort of limbic system, as Hall wouldn't understand it as a limbic system, but sort of the through ways of her body. And she is telling no lies. She thinks she's late. Um, what does she do as these men continue to struggle to hold her as she's flailing?
She's gonna take a different tack, and just kind of sort of make some calming gestures, both to her and to the men, and just like, oh, hang on, and sort of look confused herself and say like, I don't know what you mean. Can you explain?
Okay. So as you brush the men off to like sort of let go of her, she like jumps to her feet and looks ready to run on her heel as she shouts, Sister Evelyn will be so angry. I'm late. And then she sees that she is on the aft of a ship. She is at open sea, and that is clearly not where she expects to be, and she's sort of struck dumb. And you get out of her that I but I'm late. Class, when I'm late for class. When, where is the and Paul would be able to recognize that this woman is long past the age where she would be, expected at any sort of school room, any sort of class room, whether primary or tertiary.
Okay. She's gonna just kind of reach out a hand gently and just take one of hers, and sort of she's going to demonstrate that she's hearing what she's saying, and of course, yeah, you don't want to be late. But I still don't quite understand. Can you explain what's the last thing you remember?
You're doing a good job. Well, you are generally very good at calming, so I'm not going to make you roll, but you managed to get her off of her sort of combination of disorientation and seasickness long enough to get out of her that she had just left home, where she, had finished up her chores in the morning for her parents, swept up in the front, fed the chickens, and then headed down the road to the classroom, where she and the other children are expected a couple of days a week to learn reading, writing, and arithmetic. And she does not remember anything inconsistent with being a 11-year-old girl living in what did I say? In Jamestown, Virginia.
Okay.
And based on the lines in her face, she is at least twice, if not thrice, that age.
Clearly not 11 years old. Yeah. Hull is gonna kind of keep trying to get the information flowing. She wants to know her name. I guess what other information would we want that 11-year-old her would know?
Her name is Georgia. She has, no reticence about telling you that. And at this point, she starts to have questions for you. Where is she? Why is she here? Why is she so tall? Who are these men? Where is Jamestown?
Hull is not going to lie, but is going to be very selective and explain that, that they found her on this ship with all these men who she presumably doesn't recognize. And she collapsed, and they want to figure out what's happened as well. She gives her own name as Hull as well, and kind of is quite selective about sort of framing this as, we found you like this. We're not sure either, but we want to help you find out. We want to just make sure that you're okay.
Okay. So your calming and very steady manner has successfully prevented her from going off the handle and doing something rash. And you can tell that sort of at the beginning when she got up, she was sort of primed, like a tiger ready to pounce, like a trap ready to spring, to do something, to take some action to try to regain agency. But she is settled into the muddle of her confusion, and is stewing in it. And she doesn't have any information inconsistent with what a 12-year-old girl who up until this moment had been living in Jamestown, North Virginia, or they aren't. North Virginia is not a place. Jamestown, Virginia would have, but she allows you to, sort of take her wherever you want to take her, have her sit still if you ask her to sit still. She's very pliant at the moment.
Okay, so I think Hull's goal is that this person seemed important enough to clearly like reset their own memory, and clearly didn't create all of these things. So Hull's goal is to, because what would we normally do with the crew, and how are the crew reacting to things as well?
So if they weren't disoriented, these normally go one of a couple of ways. The first is that you unfurl your flag and you board, and the crew and captain just sort of give you whatever you want. They allow you to take whatever. They don't resist, in the hopes that you'll just let them go on your way. The alternative is that there is a bit of a conflict, and you have to Balthazar says that you have to make a show of them and inflict some degree of violence or retribution in order to keep up your fearsome reputation. So there would be some amount of bloodbath. You don't necessarily know, without having to talk to Balthazar, what he is planning in this moment. Alternatively, or that could take the form of, killing some portion and sending the rest on the way, or simply, setting their ship aflame and sailing away while leaving them on it. Or alternatively, they could attempt to conscript the crew and, take their ship along with them.
I think once she's calmed down, Georgia, she talks to Balthazar about what they're doing with the rest of the crew. Is there, because she wasn't the captain, it didn't seem like.
It seemed like she was giving orders and she was doing commanding, which, to Hull's eyes is, given the stereotypes at the time, quite unusual.
Right. In terms of, so there doesn't seem to be anybody else who has any sort of particular authority that they can question?
There is a quartermaster, surely. He's probably, was rounded up with the rest of the crew, and you could have someone, pick him out if you ask someone to.
Yeah, I think what she wants to impress on Balthazar is that we need to, we can take what we want from this, obviously, but I don't think anybody else, apart from Georgia, should be coming with us. No conscription or anything like that. What we want from them is information. So if we can question whoever's in charge and find out, what they know, who they work for, things like that, that's good. But I think she wants to impress on him that we want as little connection to these people as possible.
Okay. So do you go down to find him in the Arbalest's captain's quarters to, have this conversation?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so you find him, in these, quite plushly appointed quarters, looking through records. I think maybe Raoul wouldn't have come over. The quartermaster always stays aboard, and you don't have Kesson. But he's looking through charts and maps and things, and looks up at you as you go in, and says, good. I wanted to ask you a question. If you'd close the door, please.
She does so silently.
Are you a witch?
She holds his gaze, and she tells him, there are two sides to everything. Do you want to see both sides? No. Do you want to enter that world?
I think there's a long silence at this point, where, you're holding Balthazar's gaze, you're sort of arresting him, you've presented him with a choice, a decision that he has to make, based on what he knows.
He holds a red pill in one hand and a blue pill in the other. No.
Right. Yeah. And notably, Balthazar didn't ask that question with, accusation. Or he did ask it with accusation, but not with hostility. He didn't have, his hand on a cross at his belt and, a gun pointed at you. But with very, very pointed inquisitiveness. And so he says, after a long silence, tell me.
Okay. She lets herself smile a little bit, and says to him, myself. I think she is gonna explain that Dalian and Pascal are also seers. And
Is
I
that
think she's
the
gonna
term that you use
Yeah,
to him?
yeah, I'm
Okay.
going down that road. We are, and she sort of, she pauses as if thinking of how to explain this. And we are seers. You know, we can see, you know, behind the world that you know, and there are a lot of strange things there. And we not only see, but we can withstand that sight. So we will, we can do things with that knowledge, and we can understand things, and we will be driven by things that others can't even see, let alone understand.
Well, those are all useful skills, aren't they? He says, clearly trying to, break the energy and the tension of the room with a characteristic attempt at humor. I imagine that he himself feels it fall flat in terms of, how it makes him feel. And he says, "Yes, very useful. God help us all."
She kind of recognizes the attempt at humor and doesn't laugh, but gives a kind of uncharacteristic whole, gives an actual smile, and shifts her body language so she's not quite so upright and sort of forward, and just leans against something,
Okay.
lets him sort of find the tenor of the conversation.
Okay, yeah. He will probably continue to have questions, which you will which I imagine Hall, Hall has a choice of how much information or detail to let go about, the answers to these questions. Anywhere from, trying best as she can to explain to stonewalling.
I think what she's going to do is she's going to set the boundary, and make clear the boundary to him, in that if he has questions, he can come to her. She is going to let the rest of the strange company, Pascal and Dalian, know that she's had this conversation with him, because she's sort of shared their status, and so therefore they deserve to know.
You're gonna say that like now, or what's the conversation still ongoing, right?
Yeah.
The,
If Pascal
the,
wants to have interposed at some point and entered the room, then we can decide, when that happens, if it's after the conversation's done or during. But all that he knows probably is that he saw Hull entering the captain's quarters.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more that she can tell that he has questions, so she's setting the boundary.
Mm-hmm.
Of
if Pascal heard the close the door, he probably, taking the Balthazar's inquisitive questions from earlier, he's probably gonna go okay, yeah, I'll let Hull deal with it.
Okay.
And then kind of slink back.
Yep. So you successful. Go ahead.
Well, just in terms of setting the boundaries, she's saying that if he has questions, then by all means come to her, and she will try to answer. But understand that there are things that he's not going to be able to understand, because he doesn't have the same sight as they do, that he doesn't see like they do. So to understand that there'll be things that she can't explain to him, and that he may have to trust, the three of them, when
Okay.
they're doing things that don't make sense, or when they're unable to explain or show him things.
Okay. He outwardly, nods, with still that same degree of, respect and fear, possibly weighted now towards square the middle of them. But you can also tell that he doesn't like that. There are things you can't understand at all. So you have a hunch that this probably isn't the end of him poking his nose into things. But he,
fine, yeah.
Agrees, and the conversation, wraps up in due time, and Hall leaves. So
Hull is definitely going to take that straight to probably top of the list. Is going to be explaining to Pascal that what she's told him, and is maybe gonna I think isn't quite going to insist, but is going to say maybe I should be the one that he comes to with questions, just so we're all and I can relay whatever is needed.
Yeah, and Pascal is going to mention that he had tried being inquisitive towards Pascal earlier, but Pascal felt it wasn't entirely his place to spill all their secrets at that time, so so that seems like a good arrangement.
Okay, cool. And she's very much wants this to be between the strange company to be kind of open and equitable as to what she's decided to do, and not just be deciding for them.
Okay. So in terms of loose ends to be wrapped up on the ship, Hall had said that she wanted to do an interrogation of whoever this ship's next in command is, either the first mate or the quartermaster or whoever. Is there anything else that you all wanted to do, or any direction that you wanted to give, or attempt to give, rather, about how things go next?
While still on this ship, not necessarily. It's that the sleepwalker, what was her name again with the G?
Georgia.
Georgia. I have an idea for a spell, but if we're taking her back on our ship or trying to convince her to come with us back on our ship, that'll be after we get back, then to those nice tasty yantra bonuses.
Oh yes.
But I have an idea for a spell to cast to maybe give us a better lead.
Yeah, I think my goal is to basically take her with us because she's kind of adrift right now, and seems to be an important person. So
yeah, I'd probably like to convince her, though, of course, more than I don't want to kidnap her,
Oh no, of course, yeah. And I feel like Hull has convinced her enough, maybe, that they're acting in her best interests. She clearly doesn't remember the rest of the ship, so.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of loose ends, you quickly identify the the first mate of the ship, and the quartermaster. What are the questions in particular that you wanted to ask, and the information you wanted to gain?
Who do you work for? Kind of who. Are there any wizards that you don't know? I think who do you work for is the main one. I'm just trying to suss out anything funny going on with their.
Okay. Give Orso Hall. Give me a wits and subterfuge roll. Penalized by 3.
Okay, I'm going to spend a willpower to get around that. Okay, it's 2 successes.
Okay. So, the this ship is owned by the Virginia Trading Company, a crown company owned by Her Majesty, and in service to Her Majesty is bringing supplies and goods to the colonies in in service to Her Majesty, generates profits by trading goods with the Caribbean islands, heading towards Santiago. The first mate tells you that with earnestness, and I don't know if you still have. Actually, I should have asked if you still had Pierce Deception up anyway, but
Good question. Yeah, I'm keeping that up.
So the first mate is completely earnest in his conviction that they are heading to Santiago. He tells no lies. The quartermaster is lying through his teeth when he says that they are headed to Santiago.
Okay. She's gonna tell. She's probably got a couple of the crew with her, just as kind of muscle, and the quartermaster. She's just like, as soon as she can tell that he's lying, she says to them, "He's lying. String him up. Just get ready to toss him overboard or something like that." Just completely like, okay, you're lying, fine. You're useless to me, as an intimidation tactic.
Okay. Give me a presence plus intimidation. Well, yeah, presence plus intimidation roll +3 because that's pretty convincing. Penalized by 4.
Oh, whoops! I think I rolled too many dice, but I got 3 successes.
Well, we'll go with it. So as you're walking away, the crew goes to do as you ask. They've been happy to enact violence thus far, and they grab a bag to put over his head and whatever, and he maintains his stoic front for a bit before shouting, wait, I'm sorry, Havana, we're headed to Havana. And this
Okay.
is not a lie.
All right, music to my ears. Okay, she turns around and comes back to him. Says, all right. Now you know not to lie to me. She's gonna ask about Georgia. What do you know about her? How long have you known her? Is she the captain? Just try and suss out what he understands of their relationship.
So Georgia is indeed the captain. A highly unusual arrangement, but the owner of the ship, was very insistent that she be given command. Directive sent over from London, and she led them well. She commanded the respect of the crew, miraculously to his eyes. And she was the only other member of the crew who was aware of their, true destination. To the rest of the crew, it was going to be sort of a out-of-the-way supply stop. The able navigators among them would have recognized that, this was very out of the way to be headed to Santiago, but they're not paid to ask questions. And Georgia was to do something aboard. There was some manner of business that she had on behalf of their employer, and he was not privy to what that was to be.
Okay, and this is all truth, I assume.
Yes, he tells no lies. Well, he tells no lies, rather.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Specifically, no lies. Okay. Yeah, I think Hull is pretty satisfied with that. That fills out some of the links that they have. Speaking of links, I think Hull is going to talk to Pascal because it's becoming clearer that he was right, that Georgia isn't the sole person pulling the strings here. She's clearly got links to some actual seers with actual magic, and she is concerned about this coming back to bite them.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there something that Pascal can do in terms of? Because I don't think we should like just
Well,
burn ship and kill everyone.
yeah,
I think
Pascal's going to bring up the alternative of like, we could try to play it safe and like avoid whoever she was working for, or they clearly were like pretty adept at using magic. Those were some powerful effects. We could
Yeah.
try to seek them out on purpose.
That's a very interesting idea. Yeah, Hull was gonna say
Try to
like,
clear this with the person, another seer to seer, as it were.
I think that's a really good idea, and I think we still want to cover ourselves so that they don't see us coming necessarily. So
Okay.
yeah, I think if Pascal can in some way like, because Hull understands like that bifurcation of that contagion, as it were, of linking yourself to something.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can follow that contagion to whoever they work for, or to whoever they're linked to, or wherever they were going.
Has Hull
At the same
explained
time, cover our own.
the memory thing yet, or what information? Like
Oh, yeah.
Pascal would ask, like, what information were you able to get?
Hull is
Briefly
trying-
interrupting. So, at this point, I imagine you guys have like come out of the hold where you were questioning the quartermaster. You're maybe talking on either the deck of the Arbalest or back on La Rosa on Home Sweet Home. From hearing around, Captain Balthazar intends to sink the ship, or says to sink the Arbalest. There are lifeboats, so at least some of the crew will make it off, but he, intends to, rip the sails and then launch the cannons once they're a distance away to not be sucked down with the whirl.
I think if we have Georgia, we have the links that we need.
So are we fine with the ship being sunk otherwise?
Yeah,
No reason to intervene.
I think I'm fine with the ship being sunk otherwise, because as Hull understands like resonance, wholesale murdering the lot of them would very much not be washing their hands clean of the whole situation. It would, if anything, make the link stronger. So I think sinking the ship is fine, and that's probably the normal thing to happen in the situation.
Yeah.
Setting the crew off on lifeboats, she's fine with that. She doesn't want the crew to be sort of involved with any of her stuff.
No examples being made, but of anything but the ship.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, I mean, at least some of them will die of exposure before they make it to shore, but you're not killing them directly.
Yeah.
Yep, hands are clean. It's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
that's wisdom,
So for the sake of expedience, I'll imagine that this conversation between you about what to do about this other seer is happening as you have pulled away from the Arbalest, and the cannons fire. The fire springs up on the Arbalest, and you're just casually chatting about what next to do as you hear screams coming from the Arbalest. Fire going up, people running for lifeboats. Continue.
So Pascal will say, as long as we can get if we can get Georgia, to be a little bit like willing to work along with us, I should be able to get a better idea of who she may be working for. By investigating the links. If her memory's gone, there are some connections that are going to remain a little bit harder to scrub out, at least for now. So we're going to want to get on that quick before they start to weaken.
That's a good idea. I think Hull is maybe going to start thinking about, if she's been able to travel inward, and to go into her own Oneros, is that something? I think she's going to talk to Pascal about that as something that, does he think that might be possible to do with Georgia in terms of mind? Is more just kind of spitballing things that they might be able to do further along.
Okay, so as you guys, so I'll say that you guys are sailing away. You don't necessarily have a bearing at present. You've looted a lot of cargo from that ship, and so Raoul and Balthazar are deciding where the nearest friendly port to their colors are to unload them is. Possibly heading to Nassau would be the closest. But you guys don't have anything that is expected of you right now in terms of the crew's duties. If you wanted to do aspiration or obsession related things during this last 25 minutes we have in the session.
I got lucky because one of my aspirations was just loot like magical objects, and we've got a couple now, so
It's true.
Yeah.
But I think I'm mostly focused on getting like, I guess, this spell off and seeing what we can learn from it.
Okay. Go for it.
Yeah. Excuse me. Sorry. I think if Pascal is interested in kind of scrutinizing those magical items and things and giving them a good look, she's more than happy to cast supernal vision on him and to use shared sight to give him prime sight as well. If he wants to do that.
That Pascal would be willing to do that, but I think the tracing the links is his number one priority right now.
Okay.
Just in case, because he knows that connections can fade, and he doesn't know if whatever she did affecting, with that spell is going to accelerate it or anything.
That's a good idea. Yeah. How about? Oh, here's an idea. So I want to help out with that spell. Obviously, I don't have space magic, but if I give you my soul stone, you can use that as a +2 yantra.
Oh.
Let's see. A piece of a hull. How would that work sort of semiotically with the spell? Because as far as I understand, a soul stone's a powerful yantra, but it's not, a universal yantra, right?
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, he was planning on taking Georgia to the mirror artifact and then using its connection to Pandemonium to kind of like, put her in front of the mirror and kind of see what reflections like have a connection to her, what chains like remain.
Okay. Yeah.
Could you
go ahead.
use, because obviously my soul stone is now dedicated, so it has that link to me. It is a piece from a whole kind of thing. Would that be enough sort of semiotic or semiotics to sort of relate to this spell that's trying to trace connections? Comparing it to this powerful connection.
I'm gonna say no in this case, but that's creative thinking, because it's the fact that it's dedicated is powerful, and it's very personal to you. So I imagine like that connection as having like a very strong tenor of you. And also that's because the the artifact is chunky enough that I'm sure Pascal will get along. But I will say that if Hull wants to help, there are things that Hull could do to create maybe an environment yantra in some way, sort of through mundane action or through occult knowledge. Because if Hull is familiar with this fashionable occult concept of contagion, there are things that she can do that are resonant with 18th century chaos magic that.
We'll probably Oh, you finish.
No, that was where I left
Uh,
off.
I was about to say I don't want to like I guess speak over like what maybe like Dalian did, but I imagine that our company has kind of over the past month, kind of maybe at first informally, has like a wizard place, for lack of a better word, like a place where we can actually talk about the stuff we've been doing, or clear with each other, maybe outside of like the other crew, and that's kind of become like a place to cast spells since it was over time.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
Because obviously we can't go around talking about like the astral and contagion and spirits and stuff just like in the mess hall or anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So, however you want to spin it, sort of in game, I will say that sort of Hall's presence and conversation and sort of setup can provide you with a +1 environment yantra for this sort of contagion related spell.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
The artifact I believe gives a +1 yantra for the path.
As a path tool, yeah.
Yeah.
And Pascal's still Gnosis 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's, well, even if you were Gnosis 2, that'd be it, but okay.
So 2 yantra dice. The spell that I would like to cast is what's the name? It's the
Correspondence.
space spell Correspondence that traces connections, but specifically I'd like to reach for following a trail of sympathetic links, and also specifying the connections that I wish to uncover. With the specified connection kind of being like, not necessarily like what you think of as loyalty, because I was going to say like the loyalty you have, but it's not. It's like who you were acting in service of, kind of, right?
Your patron.
Like who do you work for, kind of,
Your employer.
And kind of like trying to sift out that connection. Who are you acting as like a vassal of? Who do you work for, I guess.
Okay. Cool.
Let's see. So I have the spell already set up. I think that'd be 3. I was originally gonna reach for 1 turn casting time, but if you think that it would take longer to set up the environment, we can do the ritual, I suppose.
I mean, it would take a matter of minutes to set up this space that's that would give Pascal an edge. If you want to take the full 3 hours, that's up to you. Time wise, I imagine that this is probably like mid-afternoon. Up to you.
He'll probably reach for Georgia's sake, since she seems to be like a little bit confused right now. Doesn't want to make her stand around for 3 hours standing still.
Okay.
In front of the mirror.
You set her in front of the mirror. You tell her to gaze into it. Her reflection gazes back. In the mundane world, she's looking at a perfectly ordinary, if highly ornate mirror. I think that seeing her reflection in this mirror actually, is more distressing to her. Yeah, vastly more distressing than anything that has happened yet today. Because the bloodshed and the gunfire was all over by the time her memory was wiped. And as far as she was aware, she was a 12-year-old girl, but now she is looking at the body of a woman who is, she is looking out from the body of a woman who is much older. And, she's trembling somewhat and covers her eyes and stammering. And I imagine Hall is doing some amount of calming, but while you take the couple of turns to cast the spell.
Yeah, Hull is definitely focused on keeping her sort of calm and just reassuring her.
Okay, are we provoking Paradox?
Yes. Can I, since I'm trying to cast the spell quickly, would that key off of maybe my my vice, since I'm trying to be a little bit like nicer, kinder to keep George out of any undue distress?
By just sure.
Quickening it along.
Yeah. And you do have a modified obsession.
Yeah, that's why I was actually thinking about that, because as of now I have 2 Paradox. I'm definitely going to release it if I roll for it, but I'm wondering if I should spend any mana to try to counteract. Paradox is only released on a 10, or is it on any success?
Paradox is on
You have a
success unless
paradox
it's a chance
die.
die. It's
Uh,
normal dice rolls.
I'll spend 1 mana to cancel out one of the paradox dice. So I'll be rolling
A normal die.
one dice. And then, Pascal won't completely make it safer since he has the experimental obsession, and so he will release, if it happens, he'll see what happens, but
Hmm.
other than that, he's trying to control the magic.
Okay, go for it.
Alright, here's the paradox roll. If that's the second dice, it should have been canceled out.
Oh,
So yeah, because I touched mana mod, but I didn't touch the mana
Oh.
spent in the
I
mana
see.
paradox roll. So it
Okay,
should have
yeah.
only been that first dice.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. So, nothing off the obsession because no paradox was released, but you definitely are fine to cast the spell now.
Alright, that is Yantra 2 dice, environmental and mirror, spending willpower, casting the spell for 2 potency.
Whoa.
Okay, so
Lots
close.
of fours this session.
Yeah. Okay, so potency corresponded. It's not withstood. Knowing spells generally aren't. Let me just make sure I'm giving you everything that you need to. You reached for following the links, and you reached for specifying.
Yeah, so with the 2 potency, Pascal's actually trying to learn like who's she acting in service of, right?
Okay.
The strongest one, and then he's gonna try to figure out who that person is acting in service of then.
Okay. So
And it does say that yeah, this knowledge is contextualized based on the perception.
yeah. So you cast the spell. You start to query the chains. Extending out of her into space. These chains don't seem to have been affected by the magic that was unleashed by the glass globe. They're still plentiful and clustered the way you would expect from sort of an adult who has had lots of time to attach themselves to the world as opposed to a child who's a little bit lighter, freer. But you immediately sort of run up against what feels like the clanging of an iron door. Roll me your Gnosis plus space.
Okay, Gnosis space. And this is like what's the role here symbolizing? Is it like forcing through, or is it like just trying to understand it?
You are entering a clash of wills.
Okay, yeah. So Pascal's going to probably. I'll spend a willpower here because he's bullheaded in this instance. He's not gonna let Iron Door stop him. At least without a trying. It might very well stop him. Gnosis space. I'm having some wackiness. There we go with the. Can you spend willpower on Clash of Wills?
You can, if you are aware that your power is clashing, which you are in this case.
1 success. Nope.
Okay.
Wow.
Whoa.
Wow.
Does-
10, 9, 9.
Does that do anything?
That is an exceptional. Whew.
Yeah. Clash of Wills. I don't know that exceptional on a Clash of Wills does anything. So
Any more than a regular.
yeah.
exceptional success?
Correct. So you just run smack up against an iron wall. It is distinctly iron. It is distinctly solid, and it feels thick, dense. Solid, and you bounce off of it like a pebble is the sensation that Pascal gets.
Mm-hmm. And the spell only lasts. It's only like a 1-turn duration, so presumably pretty quickly after that, like my ability to follow these chains is just fades.
Right. Hall probably sees Pascal, I don't know, almost look like he got smacked in the face.
Yeah, Pascal's just gonna like lower his hands, from I guess where they were to do the wizard BS, and then just go, No, nothing. It's warded, locked up too tight. The chain just seems to be blocked off. Can't follow the connection.
Hull looks concerned. I think we need to be careful here.
Hmm.
Can you hide, Georgia?
I was more confident before I ran up against that wall, but I can try.
Okay. I'm not gonna make you roll for whatever warding spell or whatever you're gonna cast on Georgia unless you want to fish for exceptionals.
No, it's
Just
probably
add
just going to be a normal warding, and
a normal ward or a normal veil or
there's like a space spell for hiding connections, right? Is that a default one or not?
Mm-hmm.
Might not actually be.
I mean,
Veil
either way,
sympathy?
it'll be either way it'll be a veiling spell. If you wanted to stop someone from like manipulating or getting through into the space around you, that'd be a slightly different kind of
Yeah,
whatever.
That'd be shielding. To
Yeah.
just mean that
Yeah.
can't
Either
be
way,
able to do that.
yeah,
I'm,
just,
I'm thinking
add
more
it.
of just hiding her.
Mm-hmm.
Like the connections or her?
The connections.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could hide the connection. You could hide her from being found by connection. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But yeah, go ahead and just add it to your spell control. I'll assume that you get it off.
And I will assume Pascal did the added like the other small trinkets or imbued items to it as well, right? With like scale for 5 subjects.
Yeah, sure.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Just make sure to put that in the description of whatever the spell is,
Okay.
so I don't cheat you out of anything. All right. Well, we can get into that next time, because we have 10 minutes left, and we've got the boring bookkeeping to do with beats and whatnot. So we will end it there for today. Thanks for watching, everyone. We should have Emmerich back for next time, and take care.